Alright, it's July 23rd, 2022. On a Saturday, I'm heading to work right now. I'm going to get this quick unfiltered episode in. It's been about 24 hours, less than 24 hours since the big news in pro wrestling. The legend, obviously, I mean, there's not enough names to give this guy, but Vincent Kennedy McMahon, CEO of the WWE, he is the World Wrestling Entertainment, has officially retired at the age of 77. Obviously a lot to dissect. What I will say is that I did a podcast last night. If you listen to my other podcast, Take 3 Wrestling, we ourselves and a couple members of the 3CT 3 Count Thursday podcast, we all did a town hall last night. We'll have it up on the feeds. I'll have it on the feed later on today when I get from work. We went into more detail about our thoughts on his retirement, quote unquote. It's not kayfabe, because when the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times and all these legit publications that I read as well too regularly, because I'm a grown up, right? They report on this, and it's a big deal. Now, obviously, if you've been following the last few weeks, month and a half, 2 months, I'm going to call it, there's been a lot of controversy around Vince McMahon, which is no surprise. That's always the case with Vince. He's gone through a lot. In the 40 years he's been the head of the WWE, growing up with the WWF. Obviously, there was reports by him allegedly paying off female employees, which, okay, let's be real. Vince was never claimed to be a great human. In fact, I would say that he's been someone that's been pretty real about who he is, for the most part. But the issue with that, of course, is it's one thing to do that. It is what it is. I get it. That's not the greatest thing in the world. Obviously, it's not something that I certainly would not recommend. But when you are a head of a company that now has shareholders, and there is the possibility of using that money, using shareholders' money to do those things. One thing is your money, but if it's shareholders' money, that's a whole different story. And things have been kind of quiet on the WWE front in the last, say, week or so. And obviously, the story is kind of weird, because when this came out, Friday, it was announced that Paul Levesque, also known as Triple H, if you watch wrestling, of course, was returning to his executive role after taking a break from a health scare he had last year. Then remember, of course, I think about 2 months ago, his wife, Stephanie McMahon, the daughter of Vince, decided to take a break. And then, of course, when the allegations came out about Vince, a few weeks after that, she returned in I guess we call it temporary role after all this. And now she's now being placed again now, herself and Nick Khan, the president of the WWE, as co-chairman of the company. So I saw the news yesterday, and it was one of those things where, like, is this real? Is this real? I don't know if I believe this or not. And then, because, obviously it's kayfabe, and, obviously wrestling, scripted, all that. But then, again, when the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Washington Post, ESPN, all legitimate publications are reporting this, and then the WWE website, it's a statement about Vince retiring. Yeah, you gotta believe it. My takeaway again is, Vince is not an angel. We know this already. But what is true is his impact, especially on my life, because I've been a wrestling fan since 1987. Now, obviously, I've gone off and on 3 years. I've stopped watching for a year or two, in my childhood and my teen years. Then, of course, you guys know I took a 17-year hiatus after 2002, came back in 2019. And my takeaway is this, though, is that it's amazing how this medium has continued to stay relevant in pop culture through all these years, 4 decades under his tenure. And that's a credit to him, because he's the guy. You say what you want about other companies. Obviously AEW is now a thing 3 years in. I'm a fan of AEW. All these companies we've had through the years, WCW, NWA, and, Ring of Honor, Impact, you name it. They don't even get a inkling of relevancy without Vince and Kenny McMahon. Anybody that says something different is a liar. And I think the thing that really, for me, if there's any positive takeaway I take from this and Vince, is that he's a guy that, he's rich beyond his years. He could have sat back and just, I got my money, I'm happy, I'm a publicly traded company, I don't need to care anymore. I made it to the top. But the fact that this guy still gave a shit about the product, the fact that this guy still cared about the grind itself, because he genuinely loved the business, he genuinely loved doing TV, sometimes to a detriment. I would always say that Vince McMahon was the hardest working rich guy I've ever seen in my life. This guy was absolutely loved the grind. And he was grinding even up until his last day. He was still in Gorilla. He was still making decisions, ripping up scripts, rewriting scripts for Raw and SmackDown. So the one thing you can't say about Vince McMahon, or cannot say about Vince, is that he wasn't a hard worker. Because he did more than he probably should have done, to be honest with you. Because one can argue that, creatively speaking, WWE could have benefited from him taking a little bit of a step back. That's here or there. That's opinions here or there. Obviously, this investigation, you have to assume, had a lot to do with the decision here, whether or not it was his or a joint decision. But one thing's clear, Vince McMahon, for good or bad, how you may feel about him. And everybody on Twitter, yesterday on their soapbox, and I get it. Do what you want. I'm not going to tell you not to say what I want to say. It's a free country, free speech, all that. But he did enrich my life, because, like it or not, WWE for me, personally for me anyway, has been one of the things that I say to you guys. A lot of things I care about, music and whatnot, and things of that nature, sports. The World Wrestling Federation of Entertainment, as we all like to call it, has been a consistent for my life now for 40 years. Well, not 40, 25 years, whatever you call it, 1987. So now, again, dips in between here, but still, still watch the old stuff, still watch Attitude Era, New Generation, sorry, there's a little bit of stuff, debris on the ground here, make sure I'm looking at a flat tire. And again, I'm driving a car, so if it's a little noisy, I apologize. And Vince McMahon is the reason why I was able to have an enriched childhood, teen years, adulthood, and the friends I made through the years. In recent years, especially in this podcast medium. The connection of wrestling and getting back to it 3 years ago, and having another layer of friends and acquaintances I've made through the years because of this medium. And that doesn't happen on Vince McMahon, like it or not. So, whatever the case is, the reasons why, obviously I'm not going to sit here and get this person's life. We can separate the two, Vince person versus Vince the businessman. I choose to focus on Vince the businessman because that's ultimately I care about. I don't know him personally, so I'm not going to sit there and try to, ask what about his personal life, whether it's true or untrue. But in terms of enriching my life and my enjoyment of the things I care about, because I love entertainment. Thank you, Vince. Thank you for providing an avenue for me to enjoy the art of professional wrestling and the art, really, of sports entertainment. Thank you. And obviously, like I said, if you want to check out, we'll have up the podcast later today. The town hall between myself, Mikey B, Big Jim, and Tim Taylor came on later on in the show. We'll have the podcast up on the Take 3 Wrestling feed later today. The town hall on the more broader aspects of Vince's retirement and what it means for the company moving forward. But I just want to come in here on the Unfiltered Pod and to say thank you to Vince McMahon. And I'm curious to see where this goes next now in terms of like creative direction and everything else. So anyway, thank you, Vince. I appreciate it. Everything you've done for the company and bringing entertainment that I still enjoy to this day, and my son enjoys to this day. So it's generational now. So thank you, Vince, once again.